I just went to the crop circles to have a miraculous healing because I was dealing with mercury poisoning 20 years ago, and doctors couldn't heal me. They weren't allowed to tell the truth about mercury in fillings and in shots. So I had to deal with some serious poisoning, and I finally gave up on the medical industry and went to the crop circles. So I hired a film crew, and that's how it happened. But there's a much higher purpose of how it really happened, I'm sure.
So what happened, and how did you discover the power of C60? Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's Jean Nolan here. Thank you so much for joining us again for another inspired conversation. You know, we talk a lot about becoming the best possible version of yourself, and an absolute must for that is well-being and health. And so this is a huge, huge subject. And we're so excited to welcome a new guest to our show today. Many of you might know her from her previous life, and we're going to talk about that. When she was doing amazing, well-known UFO and crop circle films, and now she's really dedicated her life to health and well-being and teaching and showing others how to do it. Please welcome with me the CEO and co-owner of C60 Evo, Miss Patty Greer. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's great to be on your channel with such a high frequency of audience.
We are very, very grateful for our wonderful Inspire Tribe. It's an honor to be with them on this journey. Now, I mentioned, and before we're going to talk about all the stuff we're going to talk about, I mentioned that you are very well known in the UFO crop circle world. You have produced some of the epic and classic documentaries and movies about these subjects. So how exactly did your transition from that world into the world of health and well-being go?
It was intense and it was educational, and I just went to the crop circles to have a miraculous healing because I was dealing with mercury poisoning 20 years ago, and doctors couldn't heal me. They weren't allowed to tell the truth about mercury in fillings and in shots. So I had to deal with some serious poisoning, and I finally gave up on the medical industry and went to the crop circles. So that's how it started for me. But I was so astounded that the first one I walked in, my whole body lit up. And little teeny girl hairs on my arms stood up. And it was like, whoo, I could just feel it head to toe. And I looked behind me at my daughter and a lady that we had met in Glastonbury in England. And they both nodded like, okay, I don't even have to ask, do you feel what I feel? And then there it was, this laid down, flawless, unbelievable crop circle. And it looks just like one circle. And you think, wow, isn't this meticulous with clean walls? And then you realize, oh my God, it's one out of 408 circles. These are just a couple of my movie covers, but this one in particular, 408 circles on a rainy night. They weren't there the day before. You can't do that. No human could physically do that. And they were meticulous. So I was hooked. From the moment I walked in my first crop circle, forgot about the mercury poisoning, and it was just like, oh God, I got to bring this home to my family and my friends. So I hired a film crew, and that's how it happened. But there's a much higher purpose of how it really happened, I'm sure, because who needs to take this home and hire a film crew? But I was on a mission, and it went for 10 years. And it was extremely exciting because there was nobody making rules. The government hadn't shut us down yet, the researchers from around the world. And so it was like freedom to play all day and into the night if you were ballsy. And I was one of those crazy people that went in at night. And that's when you get to see the magic, the balls of light over the fields. And so I had the full experience with crop circles. I brought home a handful of these handsome EBE awards from the International UFO Congress Convention, and had a really, really good time until the field was infiltrated. And once that happened, it got ugly quickly.
This is kind of the a story that we're reliving again right now in the field of alternative news, alternative media. It's very much the same story, and the weeds separated from the chaff. So we can relate to that, and the war on this level that's happening. So what happened, and how did you discover the power of C60? A lot of people talk about C60 and have been for the last years, the effects that it's having on health, on well-being. And we want to here's a disclaimer: we're not making any medical claims and we're not giving medical advice. Please consult your health practitioner. So to get that out of the way, but C60 is kind of its whole different field in the health and well-being sector. And I want to get one thing out of the way, Patty, because this has been unfortunately connected. C60 and graphene oxide, which has been on a lot of people's minds over the past 2.5, 3 years, have been falsely connected. Can you separate fact from fiction a little bit and remove the myths so we can actually talk about the positive effects of C60?
Absolutely. I am not the scientist. I'm on the social side of the company, whereas Chris and Robert explain this meticulously. But what they say is that there are many forms of carbon and many forms of carbon fullerenes. And a carbon fullerene, a buckyball, a C60 molecule, is in the shape of a soccer ball. It's got 60 carbon atoms and it's like a cage, and it's meticulous, and it gets into places that vitamin C can't. So it's this miracle molecule that somehow, I think it's like a magnet to whatever's wrong with people. Now, the graphene is another form of carbon, but it has nothing to do with carbon fullerenes. So there's fullerenes, there's graphite, and graphite is a sheet, a flat sheet of carbon. So it's kind of like comparing a flat sheet to a soccer ball. They're both basic carbon forms, but there's nothing similar, and there's, needless to say, nothing similar about the effects or the intention. On the other hand, my partners have had the longest lab making carbon 60 fullerenes in history. They've been at it for 32 years. They're only mid 50s, a couple of young guys for having a business that long. But in college, 32 years ago, their professor said, you guys ought to get into making carbon 60 because it's more valuable than gold per ounce. Now, you say that to a couple of business scientist majors, and they looked at each other and went, So Chris is thinking Lamborghini, wouldn't this be fun? But they never really brought it into a way that I think it became huge, because they were selling industrial grade C60, which is this incredible fullerene that's harder than diamonds or as hard as diamonds. But it's like this miracle molecule that won the Nobel Prize in 1997. They've been making it since 1991. So the scientists were using some of their product from the lab. And in 2012, people started asking questions. So they did this huge toxicity test called the 2012 Paris BAATI Bhakti study. And they used products from our lab that actually are in this bottle, the organic extra virgin olive oil and our C60. Back then it was C60. Now it's ESS60, and I'll explain that in a minute. But they used ours, and they wanted to see if, I'm sorry to say, lab rats would benefit from taking the C60 Evo formula. And they had 3 groups, and the ones that had the C60 and olive oil lived 90% longer than the control group, and they died without tumors. Now,
That's
to me, those
incredible.
are equally important. Number one, they died without tumors, which was historic, because Wistar rats, typically, the longer they live, the more tumors they grow. They grew none, and they lived 90% longer than the base rats that got olive oil only or water only, but without the ESS 60. So back then it was like, oh my God, this huge discovery where it's non toxic, plus it's really life enhancing, and it creates no tumor cells in animals or people, maybe, that are being toxified like we are daily. Wow, how novel. But we don't make that claim, like you said, we would never, ever make a claim that could get us in trouble. But it is a coincidence that I sell dozens and dozens to clinics that use it for daily protocol for people with terrible issues.
You know, Patty, Christine and I first got introduced to C60 Evo last year, and so we used it on and off, also as a test, right? And there are multiple factors for us that go into it, and the number one factor is intuition. First, we intuitively tune in if this is something that connects with us. That was a yes, and then there is well-being while taking it, well-being in the first hours. You know, just tuning in. Do we feel an effect? What I love about it, and what is kind of also on my meter very important, is it subtle or is it aggressive? I don't like aggressive anything, right? I don't drink alcohol. I don't like anything that moves in aggressively. And this is very subtle. It's gentle. I love that about it. And there was definitely a feeling of greater clarity. I felt that mental focus. And I want to say that that feels pretty good even without it, but also an overall sense of greater well-being. This is really what I felt and have been feeling while taking it. What are some of the other like big ones that people talk about, your customers, you yourself, big effects that people are experiencing?
Yours are perfect and very typical that people get energy right away. And the three different oils have three different frequencies of energy. Like the olive oil is the strongest. You take a teaspoon or a tablespoon of that, you're
That
going to
that was the one we started with, yeah.
that's the strongest and you're going to blast off. I do a tablespoon of the MCT coconut oil in my morning coffee. It's literally half the amount of ESS 60 as you'll get in a tablespoon or teaspoon of this. It's all the oil will hold. So we fully saturate for 3 weeks and we keep slow mixing, no air, no anything. And the avocado oil holds almost as much as the olive. So you're going to get a different kind of energy boost from whatever oil you choose to take. But the subtlety of yours, I really like that. That's typically like I put it in my morning coffee and I make a silver bullet, which is I wake up and I can't wait to have my morning coffee. I look forward to it. And always a tablespoon, oops, I spilled more, of the MCT coconut oil. And it is a subtle way to really boost your energy. But by 10 a.m. meetings or phone calls from friends are like, what are you doing? You're so present. Like, how can you be so early in the morning? And it's like, well, it really does.
But it's not only internal, there's also topical applications. You have the skin serum and for hair renewal. And so what would you suggest if someone were to start getting into C60 Evo? What would be kind of a good starter pack, a good routine to really try the effects of C60?
Great question. Our first facial serum, all natural, 21 organic, vegan, amazing elements that go into the advanced facial serum. This, with a bottle of the olive oil, is called the Inside and Out set. And this is a really great starter because you have this for your face or scars that are relatively new, and this to take a spoonful of in the morning. You will feel a boost. You were asking about the benefits that most people feel is they have more energy all day long. They have flexibility when they've been stiff. They sometimes forget, oh my God, I forgot that was hurting because it doesn't hurt anymore. And the mental clarity piece is a huge one. And I think with the amount of information that's about to bombard the public, like one of the sides is a really big lie, and then there's this big gap in the middle that's getting closer. And any minute, the bottom card is going to be pulled out, and the whole other lie is going to topple. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but there's definitely two
Good
sides
way to put it. It's a good way to put
two
it.
sides of reality right now. And what an amazing accomplishment when you think of the effort that was put into tricking humanity at this level. But in my opinion, the clarity that we're going to need to get to the other side as influencers, as uh, organic oil makers, as friends, family, anybody, we're going to want to be able to come up with remedies that work. And in my opinion, this is the easiest thing by far. When I got wounded getting out of the UFO field, this is what I took. And I took it every day and I could barely walk. I got really hurt. And then I got poisoned by uranium in my garage. I mean, they really wanted me to shut up because it's another free energy technology. Oops, I'm not going to shut up. The bottom line is my final film, Crop Circle Diaries. I was invited to the lab of William Levengood, and not only do we have free energy in my early films, but we have a technology in the crop circles where the seeds are growing 30 to 400% more food and biofuel per plant. This is so important. And I still am so clear. My memories are like amazing. I didn't used to have a great memory, but the Evo has really brought my brain into focus. And the other consistent testimonial is better sleep. When you go all day long with more energy, you're going to sleep better at night. Now, are you and yours finding better sleep with the Evo?
Yes. However, I will say that our taking of C60 Evo coincided with a high consciousness field that was activated around our property, which is a different a quantum technology that we're a part of. So I think it was a beautiful compounding effect. So our sleep, to put it, the Christine's and mine sleep has improved, at a rate of at least 60-70% over the last year. I honestly, over the years before, I would sleep 4 hours a night and then go up and start meditating and then start my work. And I kind of enjoyed that. I will say that I also enjoy getting a little more rest these days. So I'm up at about 6 hours of good sleep, which is wonderful. So yeah, the answer is yes. And, when we talk about this very challenging time, also very transformative time, when we say to be the best possible version of yourself is really to look at all aspects of your life, and health and well-being is at the center of it, because nothing else, you won't be able to accomplish anything else if that's not really working well. In combination with taking C60, what would you say in terms of hydration, in terms of nutrition, what kind of foods, what would you get enough of, and what maybe leave out of your nutrition if you want to get the optimum effects of C60?
Well, my partner always corrects me because we can't call it C60 anymore. What we did from the industrial grade C60 was we evolved the technology of making the products for people and pets. So all of our products have ESS60, which differentiates C60 Evo edible oils from C60
Okay.
edible oils because they might be industrial grade. This guarantees not to be. We make products for pets also.
We
And
have
when
those.
your pet is lethargic and all of a sudden they're running around again, that's a lot of our testimonials. People are like, well, dang, if it's doing that for my dog, what's it going to do for me? And old kitties, that are all arrogant in the corner, like Siamese snob. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, meow, meow, licking you again. It's like they come back to life. So pets have been a great testimonial pile to read of John B. Wells, who we just did a show with, said his 200-pound wolf dog had a limp bad leg. And now he doesn't, like only 2 weeks in. And he loves to jump and catch frisbees and catch balls. And they were so excited. Like before
That's
the show, they were
fantastic.
raving. People love their pets like they love their kids, or vice versa. And we don't recommend it for kids, but we do for pets. Teenagers, we say maybe 15 and over. And we're just guessing because we haven't tested it on kids or pregnant women enough to recommend that, so we don't. But we recommend everybody else. I say teaspoon or tablespoon before noon, little food and water. Needless to say, good food, clean water, you're going to have a better life. But the one thing that you were asking, what do you not need so much of once you start taking the Evo, is for me, it's about supplements. And I've got my huge 2 boxes of supplements, all the good ones, the bone and the collagen and the NAC and the hydroxychloroquine and, all these things. Once a week, I'll take my pendulum and I'll go over each bottle and, take it out. Okay, here's a yes, take it out. And so, but do I remember to take them every day? Maybe 2, 3 times a week. But the Evo, you bet I do. So for me, there's all these other things like facial serums and creams that just got pushed off the counter because they've got all these chemicals. And if you can't pronounce it, it's probably not too good for you. And this one I invented with Brigitte Mars, a natural herbalist, and it starts with chia seeds. Chia seed oil, like what? And it's finished with rosemary essence, which smells so good. So there's these multi-dimensional healing levels that come with the facial serum, even where she said that it takes your dreams into a higher frequency, the essence of rosemary oil. So that's why we did that. And each product, is done with intention. And then my partners who were like, oh, so generous to give in to me and my lip balms and facial serum, he calls me and he says, we've been experimenting. We've got a new facial serum. So we also do this one. It's a 2-part with peptides. And it's the C60 Evo Youth Renew Duo. Have you tried this one yet?
No, I haven't. It's on the shelf here, but it will be tried.
Well, you have to mix it together in your palm. And this is how we got an oil and a water-based combo without using emulsifiers or chemicals. You have to freshly activate in your palm, which makes it, I think, even more special to be part of the putting it together. But then it goes on, and we have one for hair for people that lost a bunch of hair after the flu or the thing in the arm. A lot of people lost hair, and this has really helped me in a short amount of time. And then there's lip balms that are, I think, fabulous. There's mint and plain. And we have all these collection sets where you'll save 15% if you buy more than one thing at a time, and 20% if you sign up for a monthly subscription. But no matter what you buy, you can use his code Inspired Channel at checkout for 10% off. And what do you recommend of the products? And what is your partner like?
Well, we were, I wasn't fully aware of what the exact differences were between the avocado oil, the coconut oil, and the virgin. And you kind of explained that earlier. I was most drawn to the virgin olive oil, really. And now I'm wanting to go and focus a little bit on the avocado oil. That's where I land naturally. Of course, my wife has tried the serum, and we are starting our 13-and-a-half-year-old golden retriever on the pet C60. So that's going to be a testimonial coming up soon. Yes, standing right there. He's improved much because we did some other things, but I look forward to really seeing the reaction with this. I have one last question because we never got to really talk about it. C60. Now, this is ESSC 60, but C60 is also known as Buckminster Fullerene. Now, a lot of people know Buckminster Fuller, but what is the story? Why was this fullerene named after Buckminster Fuller?
Well, do you remember he invented the geodesic dome?
Yes.
Which is half of a buckyball.
So that's how this came to be.
Buckminster Fullerene is how it became maybe even Fullerene. Chris, again, would know the history more than I would, but I have seen old pictures of, him holding up the beat-up buckyball looking thing, and he's missing his front teeth and smiling like crazy. But yeah, the name Buckminster Fuller and the buckyball and the Fullerene, they're definitely intermingled historically together. And on our next show, Chris will be with us, and you can ask him that particular question because I'm not really sure, but I have seen Buckminster brought into the picture a number of times. He wasn't involved in the 2012 study, and he wasn't involved in the 3 scientists that got the Nobel Prize in chemistry for carbon 60. But I do want to mention carbon 60, C60, is typically industrial grade. And in 2019, when we got together, we evolved the cleaning process of the molecule to be what we call safe for humans and pets. It's a whole different level of clean carbon fullerenes, and you want that if you're going to be taking it internally. So our ESS 60 is always sell. And if you want numbers to be more precise, this has zero 0.8 milligrams per milliliters. Avocado holds 0.6 milligrams per milliliters, and the coconut holds 0.35. So 3.5 compared to 0.8, you're going to get twice as strong, a little more. On the other hand, really nice for the morning in your coffee. And a lot of people like a subtle energy increase, but you definitely get an energy increase. And it's all natural. It's naturally made in our lab. We do use graphite rods, not graphene oxide, not nanobots, none of that stuff. And believe me, we've been asked, and my partners are so conservative, they're like, what's that? It wouldn't cross their mind. They've been, doing really straight stuff for research institutions around the world, and they're really well respected. So this has been the easiest thing I've ever done because every product I come up with, I find a formulator and we get it made, and they make everything in the lab, and they search out the cleanest olive oil farm. And we've been buying from the same farm for years, and I'm sure they're the same with all the other oils. Luckily, I don't have to deal with all the ingredients or the mixing. I get to do, in my opinion, the fun part, which is the promoting, the shows, the getting it out to the public. But I only do it because I believe in the products, or I wouldn't be this enthused, because I don't lie. I don't need to. I
I
don't want
told you the exact same thing in the virtual green room. I told you if we didn't really like and enjoy the products ourselves, we wouldn't have this conversation, because our audience is like our family. They're our extended family. And so you wouldn't tell your family to take something or try something that you don't believe in and you don't think is positive. So Inspired Tribe, go over to c60evo.com/inspired channel. You get 10% at checkout. Use that coupon code and give it a try and see what it does. Let your spouses and let your family try it too. And then, contrast and compare. That's what we love to do. And I think it's so wonderful, Patty, how you said you kind of seek out what might be beneficial to you any given day. Because I thought I'm the only one who's struggling with all the supplements that we're supposed to take because we're not getting it from the food anymore. And I'm the same. I'm very intuitive about it. And most importantly, I have a wonderful, wonderful wife who remembers what I forget. And this is probably the most beneficial thing for me. And she feels oftentimes very clearly what I need that day. So I appreciate that too. Patty Greer, we're going to have to do this again and chat a little bit more about also the crop circles and the UFOs and get into that a little bit. If you can, whatever you can share. I know you're kind of out of that field now.
I'm never out of the field. I was in more than 100 crop circles. I worked with the circle maker, which is the earth herself. I brought a science that nobody's talked about, hardly, but I proved it in the lab with the only scientist that was also hidden extremely well. But what a beautiful world we're living in now, where we get to be kind of the wayfarers, to stay strong with our candle and just keep walking forward, because they definitely tried to silence me. And I got silent because I realized the field has lost its integrity. I don't need to be here. And I think that when you talk about being inspired and intuitive, I think it's extremely important to listen to that little voice now more than ever, because we are being told by our inner and outer guidance and our higher self what to do. It's just time we start listening more. And the crop circles, they gave us so much information, and we looked at the pictures, and our subliminal mind would hear the story or read the binary code and get that message. And it's time for us to start acting, in my opinion. So selling a product that's this strong and potent makes me feel really good. And I just wanted to point out, I forgot to mention we have capsules. And these are for people that travel or that don't like oil. But the C60 Evo capsules, a lot of people really like them, and it's also considered a bit of a food supply because it's got the gelatin around the oil, so you don't maybe need to eat. You can just pop your capsules, but earlier than later, because late in the day it might keep you up at night. So it does energize. And the other thing I just want to mention, the best deal is if you buy a dozen quantity, share it with a friend, give them as gifts, you save 25%. And if you do that plus your code, you're going to get a really screaming deal on the C60 Evo. And it won't go to waste. Most people that sign up for a subscription don't cancel, but we have no problem if you do. And we encourage everybody, save that 20% to start. Even if you're going to cancel in 2 days, that's fine. We just want to get you to try it and hopefully help your mind, your body, and your spirit be better, happier.
Fantastic. Inspired Tribe, please hop over to c60evo.com/inspired channel. Look around, check it out. Get your first order in. Miss Patty Greer, it was an honor, a pleasure. The CEO and co-owner of C60 Evo. It's great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Inspired Tribe, you know we love you. We appreciate you, and we'll be back with you again very, very soon.